Gotta focus on yourself out here, y'all. Pay too much to the competition. Don't worry about what other people doing. Gotta trust your process. Worry about yourself, like I'm saying, man. Bigger than me, bigger than you. You know what I mean? If you know what you gotta do, then do it. You always making excuses, we ain't got time for no excuses. You gotta get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody hold you back. Don't worry about that negativity, suggestions. Fuck all that shit, my nigga. Yeah.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. Yeah. Still watching for clones, but they all over the globe. Probably why I say whoa. Young nigga never made money from stoves, but went hard with the zones. Me and Henny broke it down way before. Now we killing shows, just act like you know. Whoa. Got a new bitch from the bottom. Still never change out my niggas from potters. Honest, I've been feeling golly. You get in my way, then you leave me no ops. Niggas thinking this a race, till we put them in their place. Leave their family with a ghost, then we pull off in a race. Competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you.
It's no competition. You niggas be lying about how you be feeling, saying you Jordan, you not even Pippen. Or Rodman when he was with Pistons. You blondie, you lying about all of your visions. Your paper be short like some midgets. I used to step out and just worry about digits, and now I just focus my visions. I had to distance myself from some people, cause they just be holding you back. I wasted some time, I never get back. Like why I do that? You niggas be bitching, it's just to be seen and put on the map. I only know some niggas who know how to spin up a check and get it right back.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy, I've got the look that drives the girls, while I got the moves that really move them. I said chills up and down their spines, I'm just a sexy boy. Are y'all ready to go? It is Sunday afternoon, that means it's time for the Black Block, and we are starting out with the Blackout, and you do not want to miss this shit. Let's do it. I make them hot, I make them shiver, they just get weak. Whenever I'm around, you see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy, I'm just the US champ. And I got Uncle Bobby with me. Uncle Bobby, you are fucked. Eat your heart out, girls. That might flip dice. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Oh, welcome everybody to another edition of the Blackout. I am your host with the most from the East Coast, and as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. And I know I saw a lot of theists. I read the mind of theists. I don't know about it. I don't know if you know, I have this gift where I could just feel what's going on in the mind of theists. And they were pissed. They were like, no, he's dancing around. He's trying to be sexy. No, atheists are living in sin. It's corrupt. I don't like the championship. But here's the problem. Here's the problem, theists. You ain't gonna do shit about it, because rolling with me is the one and only Louisiana killer himself, Mr. Texas Longhorns, the 19th degree black belt in 3 different martial arts forms that you can't even spell or pronounce.
Neither can I.
Mr. Jennings Truth himself, Robert Fuckface Reed. How you doing, baby?
I'm awake, man. That I still say, best fucking intro in all of YouTube.
Best intro on YouTube.
I absolutely love it.
I gotta get your.
I can watch it on loop. What's that?
I gotta get your new video. You got a dope video. We gotta get that to play first, and then I'll do my thing. Yeah. We gotta get your super cool
Peter
video.
Made that for me.
Did he?
Yeah, and it's
fantastic.
I don't know how to put that on the beginning and the end of my videos, but
I'll show you. Yeah, it's okay. It's really great. Good to see Derek in the house. Mythvision podcast. Derek said we should. I got something to review. So yeah, I'll check that out. I might do that later, actually. Misogyny. That's always interesting. Good to see everybody here today. Also, James Apperson just had a great show. The link is in the description. Check that out. Good to see everybody here. YouTube Punk, Cameron, AR. Uncle Bobby's in the chat. Appreciate that. Carrie Ann Chrysler is here. James Apperson, Mythvision. Appreciate all y'all. You know what? Let's go ahead and do our communion song real quick, Uncle Bobby, just so we can get our drink on real quick. Do you have your bottle ready?
I do. Good. I was about to pop a cough drop. Let's drink first, cough drop second.
Cheers, my friend.
My man.
And he's going to play us out. Foy, you're going to play what to finish us up?
Do you know what? I don't know the name of this song, actually, but I know the song, and so will you.
I'll put this up on the screen.
Foy Bands, take it away.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you
All right,
I'm gonna give out pocket change for the first 3 people.
You wanna be where you
AR
can
was
see
first. Appreciate you.
troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, all those nights when you got no lights and the check is in the mail, and
YouTube
your
punk the
little
second.
angel hung the collared by its tail. Your third fiance didn't show.
And Cameron Bennett is third, not fourth. All right, bud.
Well, sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and you're always glad they came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, you get out of bed and the coffee's dead. The morning isn't looking bright. You shrink right off to your
missed the song.
opine. He doesn't even write. Your girlfriend says she's not a girl.
That ever happened to you, Uncle Bobby?
Be glad
No.
there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name,
That's real life right
and
there.
they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. You wanna be where you can see
Hey, Spartan, good to see you.
troubles are all
Look
the
at the
same.
trees is here.
Look at the
You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
All right.
I have never had that happen, but I still say one of the funniest things that happened to me post-divorce, and anyone who's been through an emotionally devastating divorce will all tell you the same thing. It blows. You're trying to pick up the pieces, try to remember who you were before. It was fucking awful. And I quite literally physically bumped into someone at a grocery store. Total accident. It's like, fuck it, I don't have anything to lose. What can she do to me? It's like, hey, sorry. Do you want to grab a drink? She said yes. After the drink later that night, that happened. And then it proceeded to happen almost every day for 3 solid months. I will spare you all the details, but I found out that she was married. And I was just like, you forgot to tell me something there, didn't you?
Wow.
And her response was, I forgot to tell you I was married. And I was like, yeah, you forget when you got a 25-item grocery list, you
Right.
forget the eggs. You forget the toilet paper. You don't forget the guy that you've been sharing a bed with for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So no, I did not have that happen when your girlfriend's not a girl. But I have had that situation where it's like,
Whoops.
you lied. And I mean, and this is a big lie. 'Cause
Yeah,
again,
it's huge.
Every once in a while, I remember what I look like. Unless he's Andre the Giant, he's probably not going to push up on me.
Right.
He's going to find out where his wife goes after work and show up with a gun. I was like, this motherfucker.
Yeah,
No,
it's crazy.
I did not find out that my girlfriend wasn't a girl, but I did find out a play partner was accidentally married.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. And it's kind of crazy to do the whole secular morality thing, right? Because you're like, hey, I may not believe in God anymore, the 10 Commandments, but I'm not trying to get my life or somebody else's life all types of fucked up, getting
No, yeah,
involved
but
in
here's
shit
the-
like that.
And that's the best thing about the arguments that we have against theists. I don't need your God to tell me don't stick my meat in a married woman.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't want that shit happening to me, so I work my ass off not to do it to someone else. So when I found out that she had a man, a husband, I was
Right.
like, done and done.
Done and done.
I didn't
yeah.
have to see what Leviticus said. They just fucking beat it.
Absolutely.
And lose my address. Yeah,
100%. So let's go ahead and get into this topic because this is going to be, I think, an interesting conversation, and kind of a deep one, but I think at the same time we can have some fun with it. So I named the title "Christians Suffer from Battered Believer Syndrome," and
Oh, wow.
you know, I figured this is the one thing I figured I had to really give you a lot of prep time for this one because this is your area of expertise. But once in a while on your show, and I think you mentioned it yesterday in your video, Christianity is an abusive relationship. Link in the description, Gin and Truth. You already know. But you talked about the 4 criteria that you use to diagnose a battered spouse, or you would to assess a battered spouse, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've come up maybe once or twice before with them, but I wanted to do a whole episode on the idea of Christians suffer from battered believer syndrome, so that we can really take each one of those criteria and kind of dive into a little bit deeper and talk about how each one plays out in the faith context, and then contrast it to what you might see in the domestic violence context.
I love it.
And then ultimately how to respond to it. And there's a bit of a challenge for us in the audience, and maybe this will be a good thing to start with, because I think for a lot of us, especially as former believers, we're still in relationship with a lot of believers, family, friends, loved ones. And I think we, for lack of a better way to put it, understand where they're coming from. We can relate. We've been there too. Yep. We've been part of the Sunday morning brunch club. And I think that allows us to overlook how abusive the faith is. And where I'm getting at with this is, I feel like, so before we even get into the criteria, if you recognized someone in your life to be in an abusive relationship, you would probably do something about it.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying you would, try to play superhero, put your cape on. I don't know what you would do, but I highly doubt you would encourage the person to stay in that relationship, or pretend that it's okay, or be like, oh, well, he buys you a sandwich once in a while, so he's good to go. We would really recognize it, even if we didn't have all the answers and all the resources, as a really big problem that needs to be addressed. And that's going to be, at least from my seat, the challenge for myself and the rest of the audience is, I don't think it's enough to recognize that people are in this abusive relationship. I think recognizing it, especially if we think they can't recognize it, kind of obligates us to do something, or at least not enable it to continue. Can you talk a little bit about that from the domestic violence perspective? Like, because it's got to be a tough thing if a friend, lets you know this is going on in their house or whatever.
It's near impossible, because the real fucked up portion, whether your friend comes to you with a black eye, missing tooth, a limp, or it's the abuse is verbal and emotional, or it's a combination of both, you got to understand that your friend, he or she, if you talk shit about their spouse, they're going to defend their spouse. And so if you just come right out and say,
wow,
Jim is treating you like trash. Jim's a motherfucker. Suzanne she's a piece of shit. Even though what you're saying is 5,000% accurate, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to defend their spouse. And I bullshit you not. I had just gotten my first degree black belt. And the dude under me, his name was Jason. I think he was like a second degree brown belt at the time. We finished class and we found out that Jason was a part of an altercation. And by altercation, I mean his wife was pregnant, and it was quite literally he got the phone call with the stereotypical, could you please pick up Rocky Road ice cream and dill pickles? So he went to the store to pick up what his wife wanted. He's in the checkout line, and a dude is talking all kinds of shit to his wife or girlfriend. He's even kind of, bucking up and getting physical. Jason was like, you know what? Why don't you just buy your groceries and leave? Dude started to buck up to Jason. And it's like, I don't want to do anything. Just seriously, you're yelling at her. You're cussing at her. There's a line full of people. This isn't appropriate. Buy your stuff and just go, man. Seriously. He bucked up and he did one of those to Jason. It's something that you teach day one. And it's quite literally high block and a reverse punch. Yeah, people think that shit is corny, but you'll never guess what.
It works.
That shit works. It works. And dude bucked up and threw a real lazy punch. He just had a reflex, Jason, and dropped him. Didn't kill him, didn't break a bone, but put him on his butt. Really long story short, when it was time to testify what happened, the blase and the flavonoids, the lady sat there. And when the cops were trying to gather information, she literally said it because Jason was still wearing his gi pants. If you don't know what a gi is, it's a fancy word for a karate uniform.
Yep.
He was still wearing his gi bottoms, and she straight up said, that guy with his 9th degree black belt came over, and me and my husband were just singing Kumbaya and talking about our wedding plans, and Mr. Karate Guy came and beat my husband up.
Oh, the guy's spouse.
Yeah, the lady who was being abused. Then what got Jason off the hook was the
I
manager
got
of the
a little
grocery
confused.
store.
Oh, so he went to the grocery store for his woman, but in the grocery store, he sees this other guy.
He sees, yes,
this other guy,
the domestic situation.
Yes, and then so he's telling him, "Hey, man, this just isn't the place for this. Go ahead and grab your groceries and get out of here." And then the altercation happens. Okay, and then the woman sticks up for her husband. Yeah,
he was talking shit. Jason goes in to defend, and what got Jason off the hook was the manager of the grocery store saw the whole thing. It's like, that's exactly how this did not happen. My point is, when you are that level abused, your instinct isn't to pack your bags and run. Your instinct is to protect your abuser. That's how you know you are neck deep into this abusive relationship. You protect the person that's treating you like shit. You push the people away who are trying to help you. And
yeah, I actually want to.
No, go ahead. What's that?
No, you're fine. I just wanted to. There was a recent incident that I think we should touch on because it's been in the news actually, and I think it's a good example. I don't know if you heard this story.
Oh, Dana White.
But Dana, yeah, let's talk about Dana White.
New Year's Eve 2023 in Mexico, UFC President Dana White and his wife Ann brought it all in, but the celebration became physical. The video, obtained and published by TMZ, shows White grabbing his wife's wrist as she tries to walk away and Ann slapping him. Then White open hand slaps his significant other not just once, but twice. It all went down in Cabo San Lucas in the VIP area of El Squid Row. Onlookers separated the pair. Now, in the midst of White committing an act of domestic violence, he made a mention of something to this very day remains the oldest trick in the book. White, 53, would indicate there was definitely a lot of alcohol involved, but that's no excuse. Here's a quick question. Why state it then? The question now turns to the old adage. If they do it in public, what happens in private? White would say, it's never happened before. It's the first time it's ever happened. People are going to say what they're going to say. It is what it is. And whatever people do say, it's deserved. I deserve it. On TMZ, which has been a safe haven for White, he told the outlet, I'm in Cabo, Mexico for the holidays with my family, and my wife and I were out with family on New Year's Eve, and unfortunately, that's what happened. White now joins Chuck Liddell, Luis Pena, John Jones, Mike Perry, War Machine, light heavyweight Thiago Silva, NFL player turned MMA fighter Greg Hardy, and many more on the list of domestic abusers in the sport. In 2015, HBO's Real Sports went over a huge problem.
All right, I thought they were going to cover this other thing. I don't want to tell the story. But there was basically, they apologized to each other, right? And they then tried to basically say, oh, you know, it's okay. She hit him first. We apologized to each other. We sat down. We talked to our kids about it. But it reminds me largely of what you're saying, where they stick up for each other.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of acknowledging that this is a real problem, it's like no. Oh, we said we're sorry. We talked to our kids about this. Our family is using this as a learning experience. Let's all move on.
Shit. Yeah. First, the whole it's the first time. Please notice how that's also the exact same catchphrase. If you ever watched To Catch a Predator, you got some 55-year-old man talking crazy shit about what he's going to do to what he thinks is a 13-year-old girl. And then when he shows up at the trap house and Chris Hansen tells his monkey ass to have a seat, it's the first time. It's like, no, it's not. It's the first time you got caught.
Right.
And here's the thing. And it's one thing my parents taught me. There's just no nice way to put it. First and foremost, everyone keep your hands to yourself unless you just absolutely have to. Yes, I acknowledge that I saw her hit him. But here's the thing. This is what my parents taught me when they realized, one, I was going to be bigger than the average kid. Two, I was a little angry fucker. And they said, don't you ever, don't you ever, never, ever, don't you ever, never, ever, ever. Did we say never? We meant to say never put your hands on a woman. And that's exactly how they said it. And it was like, it does, because if you do, right or wrong, it does not matter. You can cure cancer, bring peace to the Middle East, make $1 billion. It doesn't matter. You will always be that big guy who hit a woman.
Right.
And I absolutely live my life by that. So Dana was just 5,000% in the wrong.
Right.
And the host, I can't remember his name. That's exactly what it is when the ladies say that shit to me. Right? It was the first time. It's like, no. One, first time he got caught. Two, first time he came with me with a black guy. And three, if that's what he did in the grocery store at a resort, I shudder to think what happens when the door is closed.
So you're the women, mostly women, I assume, that come to you in your self-defense class. All women.
Yeah.
They will often themselves use it was the first time line, like if it's court
absolutely.
Or something like that.
If there is a abuse survivors handbook, they all get one.
Wow.
Because again, that goes into the fourth criteria, and that is you find your identity in your oppressor.
Wow.
I mean, this is a slow drip. If he just comes out on the first date, and that's how Christians get you. They send you the Daily Disciple. They send you Greg Kokel.
Yeah.
If he just came right on the first date, it's like, you know what's going to happen in 5 years? I'm going to call you everything but a child of God. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to rape you. I'm going to treat you like absolute dog shit. Do you want a house key?
Right.
Every person would just turn and run.
Right.
But he starts out, he's the most handsome, fantastic, highly educated. He's that person that everyone wants to date. And if you're a dude, you want to be him.
Right.
Because again, if a predator looked like a predator, he would never predate. And so it's that slow drip. Next thing you know, you're like, why haven't I seen my family in 5 Christmases? What the fuck's going on here?
Right.
You used to be able to say, you know what, I actually like chocolate ice cream. Now you're saying, John tells me that vanilla ice cream is better.
Right. Absolutely.
Before you know it, you're just like, how did I get here? Again, that's why I said in my video yesterday, it's easy to dismiss me. I talk shit. I use colorful language. Go fuck yourself. Shut the fuck up. But then you put me up against the likes of a daily disciple. Hi, don't get mad at me. I'm just a Christian.
Right.
Next thing you know, he's like, you got self-esteem. 3 weeks later, I'm a hot steaming pile of monkey shit. I deserve to get hurt. It's abuse 101. You will stick up for your oppressor. You apps by the time you sign up for lessons with me,
wow.
I hear more about your oppressor than I hear about Susie that signed on the line that was dotted for 10 sessions.
Let me ask you this. What is the impetus normally for the people to come to you? Is it court? Is it they finally have had enough?
It's a combination of stuff.
Just give us a feel of what the
I've never had court-appointed self-defense lessons, or at least not that I'm aware of.
Sure. I was thinking maybe somebody had to go through like court-appointed therapy or something like that, and then as a process there was. So no, they're not coming to you on any sort of requirement. It's usually personal. Something has motivated them to take action.
This is the world's worst analogy. So if I piss someone off in the side chat, please let me know I've overstepped my boundaries, and I'll think of something better. It's like being addicted to drugs. No one cranks black toy heroin thinking this is going to make me strong and healthy. Okay, I do some drinking. But if I'm ever doing a gallon of alcohol a night, I'm not doing that because I think it's delicious. I'm trying to bury something. I'm trying to drown something. I know what I'm doing is bad for me. I just don't have the strength at the moment to stop hurting myself. You can sit here and tell me, well, he hit me, but, it was with an open hand. Well, I mean, I do live in a pretty nice house. What's happening to you is bad because physical pain hurts. Emotional pain hurts. And so I'd probably say of the people who come to me that have been abused, they're not at their breaking point, but they recognize that this is bad. And so that I would probably say the majority, save for the ones who just want the tools to stop it if it starts.
Sure.
The ones that come to me, very few of them have been, look, my bags are packed. They're in the car. I just need to learn how to kick someone in the nuts real fast, and I'm driving to fucking Mississippi.
Right.
I'd probably say 97% of the people who come to me that are already in an abusive situation, if breaking point is 10, they're probably at 5 or 6. They know it's bad.
Okay.
They won't say it's bad. They know it's bad. I know I should do something. I don't know what that something is.
Wow.
So they know, but they don't know, if that makes any sense.
Sure. And they usually come to you of their own volition.
The majority of them do. I've had some. 3 people just popped into my head. And it's the friend. It's just like, please try these self-defense lessons.
Right.
Because it's like, you want to pick up your girlfriend, you gather your wolf pack, you want to go have some drinks, see whatever. And instead, you're sitting there, there's 5 of you, and the 5th one is, I'll use the technical term. I won't use any of the graphic terms. I was maritally raped last night. He hit me in my stomach, so there wouldn't be a bruise. He didn't hit my face. And so your friends are like, we're listening because we love you.
Right.
But girl, you got to fucking do something.
You got to do
something. And
so,
so there's plenty of those instances to where it's, well, Susie, what brought you here today? It's like, well, I don't want to be here, but my friend Deborah said I just need to do this. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here.
And
so
do you think where's it? It's interesting to me too, because, and I'm being totally naive here, but as an outsider, we would think, well, if I really don't want to learn how to become Bruce Lee to stay in this relationship, I would just leave the relationship. So if I leave this, if this man is a threat to me, if I leave this man, I don't know. Maybe at least he's gone, and now I don't have to take self-defense class. So there seems to be something deeply psychological going on to where they need to defend themselves, but also stay or try to make it work. And what's up with that?
Yeah. My ability to teach has evolved, and I remember there was a case to where two young ladies graduated high school, going to college. Parents wanted them to have a self-defense lesson because they were leaving home for the first time.
Okay.
And we were still at the verbal portion. And I was being honest. Side chat, just so you know, I'm getting ready to use some words. If it's a trigger, just mute me for a minute. But I told them, one, if something like this is to happen, you're going to know this dude. You're going to know him. Two, you're going to hear words like bitch, slut, whore, shove it in your ass, you deserve. You're going to hear the worst shit ever. And I told them, if he can paralyze you with his words, he doesn't need to paralyze you with his hands. So you need to find a way to get used to hearing this fucked up shit. But my point in saying that is, right? It's just like, oh, you hit me, fuck it, I'm out. But they can't.
Right.
Because
they can't.
he has paralyzed their mind. So there's no need to paralyze their legs. Again, where are you going to go if not here?
That's
you
just
think
so
you're worth
crazy.
something. Yeah. And it's you think you're worth something, don't you?
Yeah.
You're not. If you leave here, bitch, you'll be sucking dick on a corner, and that's just to rent some piece of shit. Are you going to get better than this? No, you're not.
Right.
No, you are not. So, just get up and leave.
When I think about growing up, my stepdad is a world-class martial artist. He's like a 7th degree black belt, something like that. Yeah, so he was up there, I think 5th or something. But he always was in the, like when we go to tournaments, it's like 5th degree and above in a lot of the tournaments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he was always in that, and then he won everything. Like everything. Yeah. Like it just had trophy rooms that he was always going to win everything. And even in his 50s, he was lethal. But what's interesting is so that made me a dojo kid. People don't realize that. Like I was like a kid who grew up, in the dojo, but I didn't like karate. I was way more into pro wrestling. If he was into pro wrestling, I'd have been at it. But since he wasn't, I was just in the dojo trying to, flirting with girls, playing on my Game Boy or whatever, like no interest. But what's funny is like I had a bully in my neighborhood growing up. And after a couple years or whatever, he just moved. And when I'm looking back on it, it's like, it's kind of weird that, because of exactly what I said, like, why don't they just bounce up? For me, it was like I had this one bully. It never got to the point where I wanted to, feel like I needed to learn how to fight this. I just needed him to go away. And then after he went away, I just wanted him to go away. So there was something different. And then I look all throughout my high school years, I was the only black kid. So, I was getting a lot of shit from boys for dating their sisters and all of this type of stuff. But somehow I never even felt the need to turn to the world-class martial artist in my home and be like, how do I defend myself? So I'm just thinking the motivation is very weird. Like, because you would think he was right there, right? Get you some lessons, learn you some stuff. But they're feeling something and going through something that I wasn't, right? There's something different about the way that they're being bullied and abused because it makes them feel the need to defend themselves. Where I was more like, oh, he went away, we're good to go. Them fucks, they're over there. I don't really care.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a whole different thing.
100%.
Yeah.
Again, you can, like, the people who come to me, I'd probably say of the abuse, I'd probably say 40% of them have financial means. Sometimes it's shared with their abuser. Sometimes it's their own. And you've got every ability, physical ability, to go buy a new home, get just to Autobots transform. And
when you leave this class, you're going somewhere else tonight, right?
Yeah. But they go right back.
Yeah.
To because it's like you cannot separate yourself from your abuser. There was one case, and I remember I got the call. I'd probably say, early in the morning. And I just hightailed it over there. No details, of course, but I was like, it's time. You pack your shit. We're going now. We're going. And this person had the money. This was not an issue. And I'm sitting outside to make sure no one gets on the front doorstep. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I go back and I was like, okay, it's been 3 minutes. That's exactly 2.5 minutes more than what you needed.
Right.
And I go back and this person, let's just say they're looking through stuff they shouldn't be looking through at that time. And I was like, get some drawers, get some pants, get some shirts, get some toiletries. You've got medication. Go in there, get the medication, put it in a bag, go.
Right.
Even after what happened that made me get a phone call before the sun rose, that person was still invested in the person that just did X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And again, it wasn't a money issue. I made this person get an airline ticket like that. You and I both know if you get an airline ticket like that, you just came off some cash. Most of us are trying to do that shit 3 months in advance.
Right.
She did it 30 minutes in advance. That wasn't the problem.
Wow.
Even in that moment, this person was still, let's just say, doing something that connected her to this person that in that moment is like, no. But my point is, you if it was just as easy as getting up and go, I'd be out of a job. I'd be 100%. Okay with that.
100%.
Yeah. It's not that easy just to get up and roll out. You are your oppressor's property.
Yeah. What do you put on the social network? Because you've talked a little bit about friends, the girlfriends needing you to do something, maybe a parent or friend that recognizes the relationship and tries to put you, because I think that's ultimately where this conversation is going to go with us. Because if we've freed ourselves from religion, who I'm going to make the case as the abuser in this case, and now we're the friends and family that recognize, hey, this Jesus guy, he's treating you like a dog,
Yep.
How do you as an instructor, how would you wish people would go about those conversations? If you're those 4 other friends that out for drinks that night, what would you say to them if they said to you, hey, Uncle Bobby, we're going to try to get her to your class? What do we say? How do we go about this?
If you're in that position, again, first and foremost, it's not a fight you can win. If you tell Susie, and I'm being stereotypical because all I teach is women's self-defense, I do acknowledge men are on the receiving end of this as well. So I'm just going to stick with what I know. You can't get Joanne in a single sentence, or it will be monumentally rare that you can get Joanne out of that situation with a single sentence. So what I would suggest is setting boundaries with Joanne. Like, you know what John did? He bought me a brand new I don't want to hear about that. Yeah, because you are egging on the bullshit. She's trying to find something positive to say about a man who just beat her ass, or she just suffered marital rape 5 hours before she went out with you. So you don't talk shit about her husband or her boyfriend. She's going to tune you out. It's just that when it's time for her to say, we had a really good day, it's like, I don't want to hear it. Do not encourage. God, I almost hate to say this out loud. Do not encourage the niceties about John. Because John is not a nice person.
Wow.
Right? If she wants to tell you that, they went to see their son play soccer and their son scored a goal, you're like, good for your son. Right? John was even cheering. Okay. But when it's what John did nice to her, find a respectful way to tell her to pump the brakes, because it's like trust. a lifetime to build, a second to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
Those 1 to 100 nice things. And again, he does not own your holes. Just because he put a ring on your finger and y'all had a ceremony and all that crap,
right?
You can still say no to sex at any time. And I can't tell you the number of cases to where that's quote unquote the norm. Okay, you live in a nice house. Okay, your kids go to that school. Yeah, you got all that. But you mean to tell me every third time you jump in the shower, something happens that you don't want to happen? You don't get to tell me that John's a good person. So don't fight the John situation. You just don't. You know, me and John I don't want to hear it. Me and John are going to plan a vacation. I don't want to hear it. It's not your job to fight John.
Right.
It's not. But you don't have to listen to her pumping up her abuser.
Yeah.
So just find a gentle way to cut those conversations off, because at that stage of the game, that's really all you can do as a friend.
Yeah, I actually am really feeling this advice because I think it speaks to, man, that was really great, because I think that's the frustration we feel. Like you said, it's a losing fight, right? So we gave a hypothetical of, the 5 friends go out and they have the conversation about John's an abuser, you got to do something, blah, blah, blah. But what you're saying is that conversation probably happens either down the road or at the victim's impetus, right? Where they're finally bringing it up or willing to talk about it. And you're saying if not that, then understand they're going to still go back to this person and you can't control that, but stop enabling it, right? Make
Absolutely.
a hard pass where I'm not going to continue to reinforce this relationship. I don't want to hear about the new shoes he bought you, how good he laid it down the other night, what a great soccer coach he is, none of that. And believe it or not, Uncle Bobby, I think that really does touch on what we can do in this counter-apologetic space. And if I'm being honest with you, that's where I think, I don't want to say disappointment, but that's where I see an opportunity for growth in this community, where we're pretty strong on our messaging against religion when we're being honest amongst ourselves. We're finally, thanks to people like yourself and James Apperson for sure, we're finally calling out the Christianity and religion as a form of abuse. We're finally thinking about it in terms of, narcissistic, abusive relationships and stuff like that. But a lot of times in these conversations with Christians, we're still allowing the conversation to wander to what a great soccer coach, what a great lover, what a great car, the abuser bought, right? Because we're still letting people to tell us all what Jesus has done for them and their personal experience and how it makes them a better person. And we're conceding a lot of that, even though the whole purpose of the conversation is for us to tell them we think they got to get away from this Jesus guy. I'm just really appreciative, because I was hoping that this is the type of thing that would come out of this conversation, because I'm literally frustrated. But I think that was a good step. Like, let's cut off this, I'm gonna let you sit here and tell me how joyous and glorious the Lord is. We can do that even if we're accepting, I can't get you to leave church tomorrow.
You can't. I probably the best way it was handled was my best quick right hand turn. Just so you guys know, all the stuff that I'm talking about, I'm not above it. I still remember, and I won't give details. My ex-wife dogged me the fuck out. And I remember when I told one of my managers, I remember we went into the body fat measuring room where I work, because it's small and private. And I told her what happened. And I still remember the first thing Celeste said was, that bitch. my knee-jerk reaction, don't call her that.
Yeah.
My initial reaction was to protect someone who literally treated me like a piece of dog shit. And at that point, I didn't even know how deep she had actually cut me. But my Celeste was right.
Yeah,
what
I've been
a
there.
bitch.
I've been there.
Exactly.
I've been there.
And my
there.
first reaction, my very first reaction was protect the person who just hurt me.
It's such a good point because I've had even senior people in my life, people that are in my inner circle for a reason. They're my advisors, they're my guideposts. They're supposed to point me in the right directions. And they've been like, yeah, so-and-so's cute, but I see this, this, and that. And you deserve better. You need to switch it up, right? And I've doubled down on, staying with the wrong person. And now I look back at it.
You don't understand our love.
Yeah. Now I look back at it and I'm like, bro, that's the person you brought in your life to give you the motherly guidance. She was mothering the shit out of you, and you just wouldn't hear it. Wouldn't hear it. So we have been there ourselves. But yeah, so let's get into the criteria and make sure we've got plenty of time to talk about each of these 4 criteria, because I would hope that our audience, if not memorizes them, because I think if you talk about it enough, we'll kind of get them down. But if not, really brings home this message that it is a form of, or it's just as like it's this battered spouse thing, and
it is,
and I think it's already, at least in my estimation, opened up some insights as to how we can approach it a little bit differently, but also how we can understand them a bit differently. Because a victim of battered spouse syndrome is in a different psychological situation than they would be had they not been in that relationship, and it's a uniquely recognizable thing. It doesn't present itself like, right? So we don't want to just start saying, oh, well, we think if you don't, believe like I believe or whatever, I think you're crazy or you're unintelligent. I may have reasons why I think those things, right? But what we're saying is, isn't it more useful if what you're dealing with and what you're going through, I can actually recognize, right? As a person who's dealing with depression is not the same as a person who's dealing with schizophrenia, right? A person who's dealing with alcoholism is not the same as a person dealing with a heroin addiction, right? And so a person who's dealing with something where they're in an abusive relationship, it's helpful to recognize what are the symptoms that help us recognize the abusive relationship, rather than just sitting around, oh, I disagree about this philosophical, or I disagree about this, or I don't think you've got evidence for that. It's like, this is what I consider a game changer, because we're now starting to have a different conversation. You can look at the internet community, and there's all sorts of atheist versus theist, science versus religion debates. There's not enough of these conversations about, no, seriously, dude, I think you being in this religion is you maintaining an abusive relationship. Let's have that chat, right? Yeah. So what are these criteria?
So the first one is...
Actually, you know what? Can you do all 4 of them, and then we'll go back to them each in turn? Yeah.
The belief that the punishment being brought upon you is your own fault. The belief that your oppressor is omnipresent. The belief that your oppressor, if they don't get to you, they'll get to your loved ones. And you finding your sense of self-worth inside of your oppressor. The first one, when it comes to Christianity...
Wait, actually, give them to me one more time, just so I can... I'm going to make a note for him.
Absolutely.
And repetition's good.
The belief that the punishment being brought upon you is your own fault.
Yep.
The second one, the belief that your oppressor is omnipresent.
Yep.
The belief that if your oppressor does not hurt you, they will hurt the ones that you care about.
Yep.
And then when you find your sense of self-worth or your identity in your oppressor.
All right, got him. All right, so
Right.
man, these are all very profound, and I gotta say, just right off the top, I think it's dead on. Right, that's why we're doing this stream. When
Oh,
you
it
went to
is.
these things, I
I
think
know
it's
it's
a
dead on.
1-to-1 match between
It is.
battered spouse syndrome, and now we're gonna call battered believer syndrome.
Well, the first one, it's not up for debate. The belief that the pain that you're going to endure is your fault. That is Christianity. That there's no out of context. There's no, it's an analogy. That is Christianity. We are born all guilty sinners.
Oh wait, Uncle Bobby.
Go ahead.
Sorry, quickly, because it touches on sort of looking at all of them from a high level. How did you start to leave religion? That was a question Jojo brought up in the chat, and I think it ties in because it's how do you help somebody recognize that they're in this abusive relationship, right? So how did you come to that awakening yourself?
Great question. For me, in all honesty, my best friend, Simon, that guy, he never once debated me. There was no head-to-head. And I always tell people about him, I am him and he is I. We are the exact same person. We are. If you met one of us, you have met both of us. If I left and gave him the mic and you guys closed your eyes, you wouldn't tell. And we're both defensive fighters, both physically and intellectually. And so every time the topic of my belief came up, he was like, okay. And then he would almost Greg Kokel me. Kind of, what do you mean by that? And then kind of give me this slow drip. So just like it was the slow drip to make me believe that I was a guilty sinner,
right?
It was a slow drip of, are you sure about that? And he just, this little, not debate topic, but just enough in there. And it did not happen right away because I've known this man for over 2 decades. And then finally, it was just enough making me think. And it happened right there in that living room. We were having a conversation, and he straight up asked me, Christopher Hitchens challenge. Name one thing that you can do good in the name of religion that you just can't do because you're a good person and it's a Tuesday. I woke up the next, and I thought about it. I gave it everything I had. I woke up the next morning not believing in God. I didn't call myself an atheist because I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
But that slow drip. So how did I lose 39 years of conditioning? The same way it was brought into me. Just this slow drip. Are you sure? Does that really make sense? 8 people built a boat the size of a football field? Go ahead, explain that to me. And then you couldn't. Well, God is all loving. But out some examples.
Question.
yeah. And I was just like, I can't answer any of these.
Right.
And again, it took probably 16 years before I was like, yeah, he's right. And he never once debated me. We never yelled. But it was every time I said something about my love for my Lord, it was like, are you sure about that? Have you thought about this side of the conversation? So that's how I lost it.
That's
Simon.
crazy.
Yeah.
The thing that's crazy about that is it suggests, even though it's a losing conversation and like you said, you're not going to win that conversation the first time. It does suggest that you can make a difference, that the influence of a questioning friend or somebody in a relationship with, because a lot of times I think we feel defeated, like we won't be able to help our friends and family out of religion. The story reminds us that you should try because you can. And just because it doesn't happen quickly or doesn't mean it won't happen at all. For me, I think a lot of it had to do with obviously studying science and learning more about natural explanations for everything, and that's sort of what made me not certainly believe in the biblical literalism and all that stuff. And I got into a point where I was a really weird point where I was like a naturalistic Christian. Like I thought God worked through natural means. I was on some sort of weird accommodationist tip. But eventually I think, I don't know. I always say I don't know because it's really hard for me to remember. I just remember going through this gradual phase. But I do remember in grad school, there was a creationist organization that called out my mentors on campus. And I thought it was really ugly. And I remember that was when I stopped identifying as a Christian. That was I had one of those I no longer want to be affiliated with those people type of moments. But it took probably like a decade or so. It was a very long journey, and I've been trying to piece together because I've gotten some other questions recently about my deconversion, and I'm having a harder and harder time putting it all back together, to be honest. All right, so let's get into the criteria. We answered that question people wanted us to, so
let's do it.
Appreciate it. All right, so the first one was what was
the belief that the punishment being brought upon you is your own fault. That's Christianity. I mean, that's not up for debate. That is so literal. Again, we're all born guilty sinners. We all deserve hell. Even fuckface Frank Turek has said it out loud in English words we all can understand. God is good. We are not.
Right.
The T-shirts, there's the I am second T-shirts. I am nothing. You are garbage. You are trash. You deserve to get hurt.
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
You were born so bad that a dad had to torture, then murder his son. And even though he did that, you still don't deserve his grace. And
right.
Daily Disciple said it yesterday. So Christians, you guys decide on whether that guy is an actual Christian or whether he took it out of context or whatever foolishness you're getting ready to say.
Right.
But even he said it.
Yeah.
You think you deserve the good things that you don't deserve it. You're still a piece of shit. So that's not up for debate. It's
super fundamental. Even the whole thing about, I always go back to John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. It's very simple, but you have to remind yourself at the core of this, if we believe in Jesus, we get eternal life. We shall not perish. Why are we perishing? Oh, because of sin, right? Sin brought death into the world, right? And so it goes from being, everybody dies. It's not even the belief everybody dies. You believe in Jesus, you'll get to somehow not die. That'd be fucked up and weird, but whatever. It's actually a story about how the natural state of things is deathless. Perfect, wonderful, But because of this fucked up ass curse on the world, you're now born deserving of death, right? Right? Death is no longer the natural order of things. It's actually, the natural order is perfection, but due to this fucked up ass curse in the world, now you deserve to die.
The wages of sin is death.
The wages of sin is death.
God is paying you for being fucked up. And they'll tell you, this is what you deserve. This is what you have earned. And why do you earn it? because your dad fucked your mom, and 9 months later you came out.
Yeah.
You are guilty simply for drawing your first breath. And then a Christian will turn right around, and when you say, "Oh, word," so the 5-month-old that dies of SIDS, they're burning in hell right now. Well, no, that's an innocent soul, and they go to heaven. So it's like, how are we all born guilty and all deserve hell except for fucking infants? So there's always an out to make their God seem like a little bit less of an asshole.
Right.
But no, that's not up for debate. The first one is 100% spot on Christianity.
The other thing is, they'll tell us this, especially if you're an atheist. Now, they do try to cover it up with each other, but they'll tell you flat out, if you say something like, well, do you think, I deserve for your God to send me or hell? They'll say, oh, no, you send yourself to hell. You choose this with your own sinful behavior, right? Like, that's the whole argument. It's to your point. It's 101 that the punishment is your fault. They will actually tell you, you chose this. It's like you said, Uncle Bobby, you chose to put 4 ice cubes in my glass, knowing damn well I asked for 3. That was your choice,
there's an ass whooping waiting for you. Oh yeah, and the fucked up thing is, there's more emotional leniency for the ice cube analogy, because under the Christian view, you put 4 ice cubes in the glass because that is what God predestined you to do. Everything goes according to God's perfect and unchanging plan. So it was within his game plan for you to put the 4 ice cubes in the glass. So now as a result, God is going to hurt you for doing what he knew you're going to do before you
in the ice cube
it.
scenario, I was really hoping you would bring me back my glass with 3 ice cubes. And that was a possibility. Yeah. And you really would not have gotten your ass whooped had you simply put 3 ice cubes in the glass, right? But it's really unfortunate you put 4. But to your point, God knew you were going to put 4 in the entire time.
Exactly. That's the fucked up part. Again, if I told my partner, go put 4 ice cubes in this glass, and she puts 4 ice cubes in this glass, and then I get up and I beat my girl, that is exactly what the Christian God does to us. I know you're going to put 4 ice cubes in the glass because that is exactly how I programmed you to operate.
Exactly.
Now, I'm going to hurt you for doing exactly what I told you to do.
100%.
And people get on their knees and give 10% of their hard-earned money to this fuckface. I saw something on Twitter this morning when I was on the bike, and a dad beat up his daughter's potential rapist. He just so happened to be an MMA guy, and he beat this dude for trying to rape his daughter. And I was like, slow clap. Magnificent. That is exactly what you're supposed to do.
That's when you deserve an ass whooping.
When you are a dad. What you don't do is put your kid in a situation to get hurt.
Right.
That is exactly what the Christian God does. And if I am not mistaken, okay, take a look. Bundy, you see Simon Stanley in the side chat?
Yes.
That is my best friend.
Oh,
we need to get
Simon.
his ass on. That's who I was telling you that we never debated. We never debate. You want to talk about how to handle someone who was abused? That's how you do it. You don't. Every time I tried to congratulate my abuser, he never once. It was just like, stop, hold it. And again, it was a slow drip. Sifu, how long was that? Like 15 years?
But yeah, you know what? We should do it. Let's do it. Let's see if we can get him on for an episode so we can tell us about it in detail. And also, I'm sure he's had these conversations with other people, right? So it almost be an opportunity to talk about counter apologetics in real life, right?
This dude is the Dan Marino of atheism. His conversion rate on third and long is phenomenal. He calls the audible at the line of scrimmage. Next thing you know, you went from, yes, Jesus loves me. Next thing you know, your monkey ass is reading the God delusion.
Right.
His if we can't get him on today, we have to do a show, because I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think we'll probably, I don't want to run out of time today, but yeah, I'd love to have him on for a full episode. That'd be awesome. But you can forward him the Gather link and password for this, or just have him email me.
Okay.
Yeah, either way. But yeah, Simon, my email is pocketlocker86@gmail.com, so email me. But otherwise, Uncle Bobby, just when he emails you, just put him in touch with me, and I'll get it set up. Yeah, I'll make sure we set him up.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, if you want to, you have permission to just forward him the Gather links, so that's fine.
Okay. Solid.
But yeah, we'll definitely set that up, because I'd love to do a whole episode on it. That'd be super fun.
I would love to do that. I would just sit down and shut the fuck up and let him wax, because, again, we never debated. There was never a fight or an argument. Just every time I try to stroke my oppressor, his dick, exactly what I just told y'all is what he did to me.
Exactly.
There was never a fight. It was like, oh my God, it's great. Wait. Are you sure about that? Because, again, if you tell someone who's living in an abusive relationship that their abuser is a sack of shit, they're going to defend their abuser, gang.
100%.
Be it what I do at work or religion. It's like, just listen to what you just said. Listen to what you just said. You just told me that you are so fucked up that you deserve hell, that your God is going to hurt your mom, your sister, your brother, your best friend. He's going to torture them. You're so fucked up that God had to murder his own son. And even then, you're not worth. Is that what you just said? Now, if we step to him like that, you know what they're going to say? Oh, absolutely. I am a piece of shit. I'm terrible. I'm horrible. The best way to come at someone in that situation, if you are combative, they're going to dig their heels in and they're going to protect their oppressor.
100%.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but the first one was spot on. I don't want to lose track on that.
Yeah, no, we're good.
The first one is
the punishment is your fault.
It's your fault. That is the foundational pillar of Christianity.
I want to
your pain is your fault.
Yeah, I want to say a couple things about that. It's important that we remember. At least I try to remember, and it can be hard. And you don't have to feel this about the apologists, but at least most pew fillers in my mind, they are the victims of this. And they may be continuing to put themselves in that situation, but this is the victim that they are literally, most of them, like you always say, while they were still soft in the head, right? Yep. This idea was put into them. They're fearing for their lives literally every day about this stuff. And then let's think about some of the guilt and shame that comes with this, because in the situation of the abusive spouse, again, there is that, although completely unreasonable, that opportunity for you to, do things that don't offend them. They in a sense, even though they're an abusive asshole, they're at least trying to make the case that you've done something to spite them. They've suffered because of these 4 ice cubes. The drink's too fucking cold now, whatever the fuck it is, right? Or they don't like when you embarrass them, or you wear whatever, this, that, right? There's something where, right, you've done something wrong to them. You haven't really, right? But at least that's the case. Right. And it's the same thing with God, where what have you done against God? Oh, you had a drink? Oh, you touched yourself. You watched an adult film. You splooged all over yourself. And now you deserve to be fucked up forever. You had sex with your girlfriend, and you happen not to be married. You're not cheating. You're consensual. You're good to go. You see what I'm saying? It's all these thought crimes and all these lifestyle things. It's bullshit.
But we can talk about this. But again, if a Christian is listening, just imagine how hard they've dug their heels in, because again, the Christian God is so powerful. He created an entire universe by talking to himself. It took him 6 days to do it. He's powerful than powerful. He's stronger than strong. He's smarter than smart.
Right.
But he gets his feelings hurt so easily. I mean, yeah, you're jerked off. You had a lustful thought. You're gay. Whatever the fuck. Right. And this is how he's so powerful,
right,
that two gay people being happy bothers him.
Right.
He's so powerful that when you say, "Oh God," but when you say, "Oh God," he's pissed off. That's an abusive spouse.
Exactly, right. If you
everything on the outside of this guy, multimillionaire, dick down to his knees, drives a new car every 6 months, all that good stuff. But on the inside, he's cripplingly insecure.
Right.
Were you looking at him? Bitch, I know you weren't looking at him. Were you looking at, do you think he's harder than me?
Right.
You've got $14 billion in the bank. You got maids and servants. You drive the worst car you drive is a fucking Tesla. And you're mad that your wife, looked at another dude.
Right.
That's the Christian God. Now I have to beat your ass because you looked at that dude. If your wife is heterosexual, she's going to notice guys, not you. Fellas, I don't know how to tell you this. I hope you're all sitting down. Just so you know, unless you married a virgin, I'm pretty sure someone rung that bell before you did. Yeah, she had an orgasm with a dick inside of her that didn't belong to you.
Absolutely.
Ooh, right? She's going to notice other people. So if you punish her for doing something that comes natural, you're no different than the Christian God.
Absolutely.
Except if you do it here, real time, we call the cops on you. When your name's Jehovah, people get on their knees and tell you you're great, and then get out their wallets and cut you 10%.
I was about to say, get 10% off the top.
Yeah. Give me a break.
All right, so that's you're punished, that the punishment is your fault. That's number one. Let's go to number two, that the oppressor is omnipresent. I mean, if that's not, I mean, need we say any more?
So the first one that comes to mind was, at the time, the worst case. And sadly, I've seen worse now. But at the time, it was probably the worst case of abuse I've ever dealt with. So bad, in fact, that the person who brought her to me, she told me, she can't pay you. And I always say, don't ever let money be the reason why. Don't ever let money be the reason why you don't learn how to fight. It's like, okay, she can't afford it. So what? I'll see her on Saturday. It's not that she couldn't afford it. She married a dude with so much money, she could have bought everyone's lesson that day. It's just that he tracked her. If she swiped her credit card, knows where she is. If she cashed a check anywhere near that, he can pinpoint it.
Right.
If there's an ATM. He tracked her.
It was complete financial domination, yeah.
To this day, I don't know what her name is.
Damn.
She signed in under a fake name.
Wow.
Now,
that right there is the omnipresence, right? She somehow in her head thinks it's possible he might just swing on by a women's self-defense class on his way home, check over the sign-in sheet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She was that afraid.
Wow.
And I bullshit you not. Get in your mind's eye what you think an abuse survivor looks like. You nailed it. She was this petite woman. She was literally wearing like 3 and 4 sweaters, and she sat in the back of the room with her eyes wide open, with her arm. She didn't participate in a single thing. She just sat there. And I remember every time the door opened and closed, she jumped. When someone coughed, she jumped. When I would interrupt the class, so you know what? That's a good question over there, Stephanie. So every time my voice boomed, because I'm always the only guy in the room, she would jump. She thought her man, her husband, was going to walk through that door. There's no financial paper trail leading her to me. She did not drive her car. She signed in under a fake name. And she still thought that he was going to walk through the door at any minute. There's no way he does not know. There's like 3 to 5 million people in the city of Austin. And she thought he was going to be able to spot her. And again, God is omnipresent.
Wow.
The first two, it's not up for debate.
Not up for debate. But think about, yeah, no doubt about it. And
I mean, you can't even jerk off. You can't even watch a porno flick.
Right.
You can't fuck in your own living room.
Right.
You can't drink and get drunk
Right.
in your own. He's always watching you.
But y'all,
he's always watching you. He's always watching what you're thinking.
100%. And I just want to dramatize this point, y'all. Think about this. I'm gonna say young lady, I don't know her ages, but so this person goes to a self-defense class, right? Which her partner clearly knows, bitch doesn't know how to defend herself, ain't taking a self-defense class a day in her life prior to this point.
Yep.
Has this irrational belief that I can't sign the paper, I can't. Well, the can't pay for the class. That's a legit thing. They know that's legit. But that's the situation they're in, right? But now they think I can't even sign the paper. I can't even use my real name, right?
Right.
Now, think about the further terror. They're now in the class learning how to defend themselves in the presence of their self-defense instructor, who's this legit badass who can actually kill a man with his bare hands if he needs to, right? Hopefully won't, but if he needs to, right?
Right.
And so she can't even feel comfort and relax when you're there. When you've got the line of sight on the door. Ain't nobody getting the drop on your class before. You know what I'm saying? And she can't relax here.
No,
she can't relax with her sensei guarding her right now.
Yeah. Because again, he paralyzed her mind before he paralyzed her body.
That is wild.
Clear across town. He is clear across town. She signed in as Joanne Jenkins,
right?
You know, an Asian woman.
Right.
Nothing about her on that paper spoke to who was in front of me.
Right. And
she still believed that he knew where she was and what she was doing.
Right.
Again, if that's not the Christian God, I don't. Again,
right.
Let's say I'm married to my partner. Okay, the sex that we have is now sanctioned by God. But if I go to the gym tomorrow and I see some hot chick, and in my mind I'm like, ooh, bend over that squat rack again. You guess who's watching my thoughts? And that's not taken out of context, Christians.
Not at all.
God watches your thought life, remember? So you can't even be safe in your own head.
100%.
Right? So I mean,
yeah. And the reason I wanted to dramatize that example is think about if you were a fly on the wall in your class or watching this woman on some reality TV show, how utterly desperate you would feel for them. How you would just want to be like, oh my goodness, is there anything we could do to get this? It would cause you pain and discomfort, recognizing the state of perpetual terror they live in because of their romantic partner, right?
Yep.
We got to start to feel that same terror when people are under Yahweh's constant surveillance to the point that they can't even touch their own bodies in their own room alone. That's terrifying. Yep. It's the same thing, right? It's like you can't be alone with your own thoughts in your religion.
Nope.
And it ties back to the first one. Your oppressor's omnipresent, and because they're omnipresent, you're always doing something that makes your abuse your fault.
Always. Oh, and that's why they say God is good and we are not. Again, the only difference, again, the best thing about Christianity, it requires no commitment. If you knew someone who was in a relationship like this, you would call me. You would.
100%.
The first
100%.
two are not up for debate. There's no wiggle room.
Yep.
None at all.
So we've
None
got the punishment is your fault, number 1. And number 2, we've just done your oppressor is omnipresent. No, not even no open and shut cases. All right. Number 3, I think is very interesting. And talk about how this plays out with your domestic violence victims. If they don't hurt you, they'll hurt your loved ones.
Yep. So if you guys have watched my shows, I kind of use the same one every time. And I use that because that's what I've heard before. When the abuser will find out that she's taken martial arts lessons, she's taken self-defense classes, she hasn't made any real moves in terms of stockpiling money, looking for a place to stay. And I know you're taking lessons. I can't stop you. But you don't think I don't know where your slut of a daughter is? You don't think I can't get to her? That is abuse 101. You may, as the abuse victim, the recipient of the abuse, you may start putting the 3 ice cubes in the tumbler. You may start fucking him when he wants to be fucked. But your kids are still vulnerable. Okay, fine. Your Mr. Miyagi taught you how to fight. Okay, you can kick my ass. What about your faggot son? You think he can beat me up? You think he's got what it takes to stand toe-to-toe with me? And it makes them fall into line. I've actually heard that before at work. And when I finally realized that I was an atheist, I still remember who told me this. Because I told her, I was like, I don't believe in God. So just stop. It was one of those, I'm not in the mood for this conversation. And I was like, okay, fine, fuck it, fine. You get me. You get me to come back to the flock. You know who's not going to get? You're not going to get? I promise you're not going to get Simon. I promise you that. So you mean to tell me I'm going to go to heaven and party forever while this loving God hurts my best friend, the man I love more than anybody? You mean to tell me he's going to hurt Simon? Is that what you're telling me? You know what she told me? God's going to give you new memories. You won't remember Simon.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa.
Oh, no. That's standard. That's standard operating procedure.
Wow.
And so it's like, okay, so if you don't get me, you're going to get Simon. If you don't get me, you're going to get my sister. That's Christianity. And I've said this one once or twice on my show. A church sent, he was a walk-on football player at UT. So they thought we would have this instant bond. So we talked. And we're talking. It's like, dude, you're fucking bad at this. And he told me that his mother had passed away. I was like, you know what? I'm real sorry. And I could tell by the way he was talking that his mom had it 100% signed on the line that was dotted in terms of Christianity. And I'll be like, hold on, dude, hold on. I'm sorry that you lost your mom, but are you seriously telling me that there's a chance that this loving God is hurting your mother right now? Are you telling me that your mother is possibly in hell? And I'll never forget his response. He just kind of shrugged his shoulders like, well, she had every opportunity to turn to Christ. And I'm like, dude.
Yep.
My mom has been, this May will make 2 years that I've lived without a mom. And I'm going to tell you something. And I couldn't be more. There's someone in the side chat right now that he feels the exact same way, and 2, someone who will confirm. The only thing I need to hear out of your fucking mouth when it comes to my mom is that my mom was beautiful. That's it. When I want your opinion about my mom, I will give it to you. It's just that simple.
Right.
So if you're going to tell me that there's someone out there that's hurting my mom, okay, even if your God is real and he's God,
Right.
you better put your biggest, baddest motherfucking archangels at the front door holding it. Because we're gonna scrap. We are going to scrap. And it's gonna be like the end of fucking Doctor Strange. Dormammu. We're just gonna keep running this tape, dude. You had better find a way to get rid of me. Now that's just me.
Right.
But you're telling me that this God is going to hurt someone that I care about if I don't juggle his nuts all in my mouth.
Absolutely.
And again, the first three, all four of them.
Right,
Fuck
of course.
This is not up for a debate. It's not up for debate.
Right.
So if me and my partner have a kid, I believe, she believes, our kid grows up to be an atheist. I go to heaven, she goes to heaven, but God's going to hurt my kid. And fuck you with the whole, well, your kid had every opportunity. Your God is going to hurt my kid. That's the third criteria, gang. And it's just that simple.
It's just that simple.
It's just that simple.
Yeah, and it's the part that I think that's the bigger picture of the conversation I'm trying to have with my own mother in a sense, right? Because I think she, to her credit, has sort of gotten the step of accepting that I'm an atheist. I think she's wrapped her head around, oh, you're an atheist, you're good to go. You know, I don't feel differently about you, you know, so why aren't we in a place where your atheism's good to go, my Christianity's good to go? And I'm trying to get her to understand your Christianity is very, very bigoted, and it's very, very bigoted against people like me. So you can't love me and worship this God who makes it very, very, very clear that I'm all types of fucked up because I won't juggle his nuts, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if you do juggle his nuts, you're still fucked up. Again, you are not worth the grace that God is extending to you.
Yeah.
Just like you are not worth all the nice gifts I've given you. I mean,
absolutely.
If God is not Ike Turner, I don't know who is.
Yeah. And then he sends them on the campaign, right? He sends them basically telling, like, hey, look, you got to save your loved ones or else I'll fuck them up. You got to make sure you sign them up for the program. Make sure they start sending me that 10% because you know what I'm going to do to them if you don't, right? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But again, that's the fucked up thing. And that's love does not hurt, gang. Love does not hurt.
100%.
If anywhere in a relationship proposition, be it tenant number 1 or tenant 10 million, is pain, you are in an abusive relationship. If I go up to Susie Q and say, hey, Susie Q, I love you. Don't you love me back? The loving thing to do is be willing to accept both possible answers. Yes, I love you back. Or the second answer being, I don't love you back. Now, if she says, I don't love you back, I'm like, well, that was fucking embarrassing. And then I just walk away. If I stand up and if I get a fighter stance, my voice changes. My eyes change. Susie, I love you. Don't you love me back? She has the free will to say, I don't love you. But when I'm standing like this, the opposite end of that is an ass whooping.
Right.
That's not love. That's not love. And when Susie says, you know what? I don't love you back. She did not choose to get an ass whooping. Right. Just like when the mob boss, aren't you going to sell my dirty beer? Like in The Untouchables. You're not going to sell my beer? I'm not going to sell your fucking beer. Get out. Remember? Don't worry about it, Pops. Frank Nitti left the briefcase and the whole shit blew up. He did not choose to have his building blown the fuck up.
Right.
That was not free will. Just like, look, you want me to believe in God? Prove it. Well, Robert, how do you think you got here? What do you mean by that? If there is no God, what's wrong with the Holocaust? Pizza think fast under the West Air for the money. Okay, I don't believe you. I don't believe you when you tell me your God is real. Okay, well, you're choosing to go to hell. You know that.
Right.
Please tell me, gang, what's the difference?
Yeah, and they all, and to me, whether they put it as eternal conscious torment, hellfire and brimstone, separation from God, they all define the ultimate consequence, so to speak, as beyond the worst thing you can imagine, right? I always think of hell as that's the point of it, right? The whole point of whatever the, and again, whatever they use is just code word, right? So some say it's hellfire and brimstone forever, and then others say, oh no, you're just separated from the perfect love of God, which is code word to them for that's even worse. That's even worse,
Oh, yeah.
And so
Oh,
it's literally to that point worse than the gun being pointed to your head, or worse than blowing up your building. At least those experiences, you die and that's it. So they're literally threatening you with eternal, perpetual, the worst thing you could possibly imagine. And that, oof, what a threat.
What a loving God. And I remember there was a pastor that I used to talk to on the regular. And he brought a friend of his, and we all went out to lunch. And again, my big trump card is always hell. You cannot have an all-loving God and eternal torment in the same sentence. One has got to go.
Right.
And I asked the dude about hell. And I still remember he laughed it off like I got it all kinds of fucked up. I didn't, Rob. No, it's not torture. No wonder you're an atheist. It's not torture, Robert. You're just separated from God, so it's like torture. And I'm like, and I'll never get. That's exactly what he said. I'm like,
so
I
ridiculous.
don't have a response for that. I don't have a response for that.
Right.
That was so fucking stupid. Right? This is a vegan steak. It's not meatless, Robert. It's not meatless. It just doesn't have any meat in it. See, I was like, what's the difference? It's not torture, but you're separated from God, so it's like torture. Okay,
Exactly.
so it's torture. Again, if anywhere in a relationship proposition is pain, it's abuse. It's abuse.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. All right. So that was, if they don't hurt you, they'll hurt your loved ones. And then so far, here's our first three. Number one, the punishment is your fault. Number two, the oppressor is omnipresent. Number three, if they don't hurt you, they'll hurt your loved ones. And that brings us to number four, which is very interesting. You find your sense of self-worth in the oppressor. What does that look like in the dojo?
How it looks, again, as you get to know somebody, the abuse is getting worse when you ask Susie, hey, Susie, how's it going? How you doing today? Well, John believes when you can't even answer a question about yourself without referring to your husband or your boyfriend, that's how I know the abuse is getting worse, right? It's like, holy crap, did you watch that game? I mean, Dallas really took it to San Francisco. That was something. What do you think, Susie? Well, John said that, if the Cowboys would have won more zone defense, then when you cannot finish your sentence without referring, you should be able to have a full-blown conversation about you without referring to your partner. Now, when I ask you, what does John think? You may talk about John all the livelong day. It's just like when I told you about Jason, the brown belt. I guarantee you that lady has not finished a sentence without talking about her boyfriend in quite some time.
Right.
And when it comes to Christianity, again, I am nothing. There's an actual movement called I Am Nothing. There's an actual movement called I Am Second.
Wow.
A foundational pillar of Christianity is God is good, I am not. They will tell you God is light, God is love, God is everything.
Absolutely.
We are the dirt underneath God's heel. So our identity is in Christ.
Right.
It's not us. And I mean, that was even on my show yesterday with Daily Disciple. Right? It's like, you think you went through that hard time by yourself? I don't like to say it because it takes away from God. God did. I didn't do anything.
Right.
That dude, Daily Disciple, is actually the most battered of all the battered spouses I've ever seen. That video that I reviewed yesterday, that one hurt my feelings. It actually did. Because that's exactly what he said. Even when you go through a tough time and you make it to the other side of that emotional meat grinder, and it's like everyone else says that I had the strength to do, it's like, I don't like to do that because that takes away from God.
Right.
His identity
Right.
is in his oppressor.
I was in a I played on a worship team before COVID, evangelical church. And I remember having this really kind of sad experience with one of the young ladies on the worship team. She was really interesting in a number of ways. Like she worked at basically the gay coffee shop in town, or let's say the queer friendly coffee shop. Like everybody knows that it's a kind of a queer hang spot. So she gets a job there, and then she's struggling the whole time because her coworkers and customers aren't feeling her evangelical vibes. And so she would literally be traumatized by her inability to hate the sin, not the sinner, without some serious pushback. But back to this thing about putting your self-worth in the oppressor, she has an incredible voice, no doubt about it. I mean, we could all just be singing congregationally, everybody sitting in the pews, so to speak, and you could hear her over everybody, and just really powerful voice, really good. And she would literally almost shut down, and I'm sure at one point came to tears over people complimenting her. Like she hated, or at least had to go through a song and dance about hating people paying attention to her voice and being like, oh man, you sound awesome. Oh man, you killed that. That was so good. Wow. Because it took attention away from God. She was just a vessel for God, and she did not like people praising her for singing her ass off and working hard all week to prepare the goddamn songs and being an effective and really good worship leader, because it was all about God. And then I had to, as a friend and bandmate at the time, learn to accept that. And if I felt the need to say anything, keep it to, hey, I think we sounded good today, or it was really great playing with you, or whatever. I if I felt the need, I had to keep it, something that was complimentary, but not putting the shine on her, because I had to recognize, it actually makes her for real uncomfortable. Yep. And you don't want to yes, you want to tell her she did a great job today, but do you need to tell her she did a great job today if you know it's going to really cause her some stress just by you complimenting her? So you just don't do it. You have to accept that this is what she needs. And it's wild. You're just like, is this for real?
And that's the sad part, because I think about, because even when I was, excuse me, at my holiest of holy rolling. I was in college. And you would sit there. I never did it. Not that I'm any better. And I never did this. And two, my pregame prayer was always the same. I never prayed for victory. I always prayed that all 11 guys off of each side could walk off under their own power. I've never played in a game, where someone had to be net boarded or anything like that. But I would sit here and I would listen to post-game interviews. I've worked out with this man. I know the sacrifices he makes. I know how much pain he's in, but he played the most phenomenal thing you've ever seen.
Right.
Get his ass in front of the mic. I just want to thank my Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. You're like, are you serious? You did that. You did that. I saw you lift those weights. I saw you run those laps. I've seen you put in hours and hours of film study.
Right.
You are an All-American because of what you have done.
Right.
I mean, without Jesus, I wouldn't be able to do it. Right? I mean, I'm still waiting for some bloody guy to sit on the squat rack wrapping his knees. It was like, come on, motherfucker, put your ass in the bucket. You can do it. Jesus has never squatted. I've never once seen it. Jesus has never sacked a quarterback. He's never run 80 yards to a winning touchdown. But they same thing with your friend.
And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He can't catch.
Oh, fuck no. You kidding me with bloody pulls? There's no way. But, you can't even compliment someone, their singing voice. It's like, hey, Stephanie, you sounded great today. It's not that she sounded great. God sounded great.
All things through Christ who strengthens me.
God gave me it was like, oh, fuck me. Hey, and not that he and I ever talked about it, but one of the most exciting games I ever played in, 1995, Texas versus Virginia. And quite literally, like 3 seconds left on the clock. 45 yards or so into a wind. I played, with no exaggeration, one of the greatest place kickers to ever play the game. In college or pros, Phil Dawson. Phil was a hardcore Christian. We never talked about it. We never debated it. But with 3 seconds left, and I still remember, I didn't even look. I'm on my knee. I'm looking down. He kicks that ball into a wind. If they would have backed Phil up 6 extra yards, he still would have made it. I just remember getting up. I took my helmet and I threw it, and I just started screaming. I don't know. I screamed until I was... I went nuts. It was the most exciting game I ever played in.
Damn.
Phil is still a hardcore Christian. I didn't hear him say it, but I wouldn't be shocked and surprised that when everyone was jerking him off, Phil, holy shit. I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Phil, it's like, that wasn't me.
Yeah, they just yeah.
Oh my God, I got to put this one in here. And again, Phil, if you see it, not that you ever will, I didn't say you said it, fucker. I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked if you did.
Yeah.
But
at least
I watched the UFC. Yeah, there was a UFC fight. Great fight. Guy drops his hands just a little bit. The most perfect roundhouse hit the dude right here. He didn't fall backwards. He fell straight down.
Damn.
His body just
shut him off.
Off switch. Yeah. The guy celebrates for 5 seconds, realizes that he gets on his knees. Again, the dude is back there. His opponent spazzing out. His body went stiff. It's obvious brain damage. And you see him on his knees, and he's like, I'm like, hold on. God is nowhere to be found when Father McFuckface is raping a child.
Right.
But you mean to tell me he was in the ring? Because he was like, me? No. And I was like, Even when you knock someone the fuck out, you're saying, that wasn't me, that was Jesus.
Yeah.
You want to talk about finding your identity in your oppressor.
Absolutely.
Holy crap. God made me this mass murdering machine, and I just gave that man brain damage. All praise be to
The sports
Jesus.
examples are always hilarious, and especially the thoughts of all the things Jesus is too busy to do. But the combat sports examples are always the best, because to me it's like a one-on-one thing, and then on top of that, it's like usually the other dude is praying to the same God. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so they will both be in a situation where they're both counting on the Lord's favor. They'll both be in a situation where if they win, they'll, give all praise and glory to God. And so it's just hilarious because, he knocks the other dude out, he's praying, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, what God do you think he prayed to before he walked out here tonight and got laid the fuck out?
It's almost like their God doesn't exist. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's amazing. But look, I don't think there's any debating these. Let's go over them again. Number 1, the punishment is your fault. Number 2,
Check.
The oppressor is omnipresent. Number 3, if they don't hurt you, they'll hurt your loved ones. And number 4, you find your sense of self-worth in the oppressor. I mean,
check, and check.
Well, I think battered believer syndrome. I think it's a thing. I think we just made it. We just proved it right here.
We need to do more shows on this, because if there's a Christian listening to this, I think I speak for both me and Jay Bundy. This is the kindest message we could possibly give you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are not half as bad as what you think you are.
Yeah.
You do not deserve eternal torment. And if your God is real and is mad at you because you beat your meat, your God is a dick slapping pervert. Just think about that. He watched you jerk off, and he's writing it down every time, and he's going to hurt you for doing so.
Yeah. And
I mean, everything about this relationship you've got with your God, it is abusive, and that's not up for debate.
100%. And I genuinely believe that this type of conversation is going to be more productive than a lot of what we experience in the counter-apologetics community, because I've just heard too many conversations about philosophical viewpoints that at the end of the day, I don't think goes anywhere. I hate to say it, that whole subjective, objective thing you went through with Chris seems to be making a comeback. Like everywhere I turn, people want to have conversations still about objective versus subjective morality.
This makes sense.
This is going to sound rough, y'all. But as a scientist, science can't help us with this one. These people have opposed and denied and resisted every single scientific revolution in the history of science. So there is no scientific evidence that we can come up with that's going to make these people leave it alone. So again, I don't think there's any deconstruction of the Bible we can do, because again, it's God's holy word. Every passage we point to that, reveals God's a monster, they're going to point out a passage where, Jesus is love or whatever. And we're just going to be in a circle jerk. It's not going anywhere.
Of impending doom.
But at least this conversation allows us to move the conversation forward by, one, having a conversation we think is authentic and nuance. It's something a believer really needs to hear. And it is a type of meaningful conversation to the way where even if the person you're talking to doesn't accept this is a more important rock to plant in their shoe. Right? This is a more important thing to send them away thinking about than, is the Kalam cosmological argument really convincing? But beyond that, I think this is the type of thing where the believer in the audience has something more profound and productive to start to think about. So with that in mind, like let's kind of tie back to where we started. What would you say if what would you say to people who are concerned about, say, religious family or friends who maybe have never even thought or conceptualized this as an abusive relationship? You want to talk about, like you said before, those boundaries and how you might go about that?
Well, if your friend, your family member who's still in the religion, if they're in a place to listen, the most optimum thing is to have a conversation. But chances are you're probably talking about someone who, at least like me, I wasn't ready.
Right.
I was not ready. So lay your chips on the table. I'm quite sure your friend speaks fluent English.
Mm-hmm.
They can hear you. Just lay it down and walk away. What they do with that information, that is on them. I would love every single time someone came to me to say, you know what? You are worth more than what you are getting. Pack your bags and get the fuck out. I wish it was just that easy, but it is not.
Right.
I could tell Susie all day long, you are smart. You are driven. You are who's going to want me, Robert, after 2 kids? Trust me when I tell you, you are attractive. Just, you can do this. Roll out. I could tell her that all day. Just like you can tell that addict all day. Look, Frank, you are straight. You are a heterosexual man, and you just gave a blowjob to another man for $5 for a crack rock. And Frank's not ready to hear that information. The lady that comes to me and I tell her, trust me, I've been with you for 6 months. You're worth more than this. She's not ready. Your Christian friend or family member, chances are they are not ready. Lay your cards on the table, then walk away. Your job after that, if they're not ready, is not to endorse the foolishness. When they tell you how great John was in the bed last night, when they tell you, John bought me a new neck, he's like, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Find whatever respectful way there is.
Wow.
Every time they say something nice about their abuser, the conversation switches. Like, are you going to watch the game? Like, you don't have, as the person on the other side of it, you don't have to be the person who listens to them talk. You know what this is like? I bullshit you not. No jokes. This is like Kanye West. Hitler invented the microphone. Hitler did this. Even if all that shit was true, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Hitler still did what he did. Okay, John went Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday without hitting you. Then on Thursday, he beat your ass. Are we going to focus on the 4 days he kept his hands to himself? Or are we going to address the day that he stepped over the line?
Right.
Do not endorse the bad behavior. Yeah. I'm nothing without Jesus. You want to go shopping? Right? You don't have to sit there and listen to someone talk crazy shit about themselves.
Right.
Put your cards on the table because the truth is on your side. Christianity is an abusive relationship. And when they are ready, if they're ever ready, then they will talk to you about it. But until that day, find a way to respectfully not listen to someone juggle their abuser's nuts in their mouth.
Right. So
God is the greatest thing. Nope. I just don't want to hear it.
I'm hearing 2 things. Number 1 is lay your cards. Step 1, lay your cards on the table. Step 2, do not endorse the abuser.
Don't.
That's really awesome.
You can tell your friend all day long, your nose is twice the size it used to be. You're sweating alcohol from your pores. You've got 2 felony DWIs. Don't you think it's time to check into rehab? And when that motherfucker's like, you're clearly not at that point. Same thing with your abuse friend. Yes, John gave you a new Tesla. Yes, you just moved into a 7,500 square foot mansion. but he raped you. Same thing with the religion. You mean to tell me that God is going to hurt your big sister? Well, my big sister had I don't want to hear it.
Right.
I don't want to hear it. Do not endorse the shit that this person is dating. Do not endorse the shit that this person is worshiping.
Absolutely.
God is an abusive spouse. Period. End of story.
Absolutely. So for me, y'all, I'm just we could wrap it up. I'm gonna hit y'all with my closing thoughts. And first off, I just want to go over them one more time just to help everybody out there
please.
Get the summary. Number 1, the punishment is your fault. Number 2, the oppressor is omnipresent. Number 3, if they don't hurt you, they'll hurt your loved ones. And number 4, you find your sense of self-worth in the oppressor. I'm gonna just close out by saying I'm really grateful to you for bringing this to us. I think it's something that's really a unique perspective on all this in our community, and we're lucky to have you. I also think it's thanks for sharing the real stories of what it's like to deal with this, because I think it highlights the sort of the real life terror, right? Yeah. And then also I think you've given us some really actionable items, which I feel like is rare. Like, we do a lot of conversating in this community, but we don't ever get to, okay, but like, now what? Like, what do we do with this? And I think those 2 very clear, actionable items, number 1, lay your cards on the table, and number 2, don't endorse the abuser or the abusive behavior. I think it's just so clear and simple, and if we start there, we can support each other from there. But yeah, I'm gonna kick it over to you and anything else you want to say before we close out.
I think that was a perfect wrap up. And again, be it actual real-time abuse, if there's anyone out there, you are worth more than the bullshit that you are enduring. If not me, find a self-defense teacher, find a group of friends, make a plan to escape that abusive situation if and when you are ready. Same thing with religion. I cannot make you believe me when I tell you. Even someone as odious as Chris, I bet you he's not a piece of shit all the time. I don't think, I bet you Tim Bruggen, Kate, when he's not kicking his script, is a piece of shit all the time.
Right.
Turk, Kokol, all those fuckers.
Right.
Chinbuck says they're just like you and me. A little bit of good, a little bit of fucked up, and a whole bunch of stuff
22
in between.
hours out the day or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so step away from the abuse. If you are ready, if and when you are ready, you're going to be just fine. And just like I find with the women that I train, they're scared to do it by themselves. And then they do it by themselves. Every single last one of them was like, yeah, I can do this.
Wow.
Same thing when you step away from your faith.
Powerful.
There's a huge, well, what do I do if I'm not a Christian? Blah, 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 blah. You know what you're going to do? You're going to be me. Yep. You're going to be just fine. Break away from your faith. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. But you got to find that strength in yourself. And when you find your strength in yourself, you will find a group that will support you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will be fine without it. You'll be better without this. Just like the actual abuse of domestic violence, they will be better without that abuse. You will be better without this religious abuse. You will be better without it.
100%. And that's an amazing note to end on. I think it's been a really awesome episode. Thanks so much. And one thing you can remind your friend or family member is that they have you. And that right there is the start to them rebuilding a life without this abuse, but with your love and support. So they've already got sort of an upper hand in sort of having you as a resource already. All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Come back to the Pocket Locker channel around 3:30 or so for Hot Program with my one black friend. Also, links for Gin and Truth on YouTube are down in the description. Also, we're gonna, I think, maybe do our movie night this week. So, sign up for Patreon. I have links in the description, but Uncle Bobby has links in his description as well. And we'll let you know about that. I know you're having a rough allergy season, so we'll do what we can. We'll do what we can. And thanks for bearing with us today. All right, gang. We'll see you next time. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless you all. Poof.
Peace.